Season 2 of Dusk Bowl is now crowdfunding on Indiegogo. This first season has been fantastic and is just about to wrap up. But remember, this is but the first season of a 3-season show. So please, support the series and go over to Indiegogo to help out. I'm not a rich guy and it would really mean a lot. Let's make Dusk Bowl Season 2 happen. Make sure to check out the previous video in this series, link in the description. Brakes screeched, horns roared. The owl watched from afar and flew into view. Don't be scared. Her voice was like a knitted scarf, warm and enrapturing. She stroked his cheek gently. Her softness, nothing like fingers or fur. Only starting to return to consciousness, a panic in the man's mind asked over and over, "What happened?" He had been on the Hume Highway, had to get home for dinner, and then what? Shh, don't be scared, came her voice again. It had been dark, too dark, and the truck had been fast, too fast. Realization came, not with a scream, but with a whisper. Am I dead? He asked the soft voice that soothed him. What is your name? She replied. Am I... Shh. What is your name? John, he said. The world was dark. Everything was black. He couldn't move. He could barely breathe when the pain began to seep in. I'm Minka, she said. And no matter what happens, I'll be right here. I promise. John wanted to turn to her as, with the pain, came his senses of touch and smell, the fire's heat, the copper of blood. Am I dead? He said again. Open your eyes, John. It'll be all right. John felt his eyelids flutter, weak and numb. It was strange how it was as if his body was struggling to reboot. He squinted when he saw the flaming wreck. He was outside, still on the Hume Highway. The road was cold and hard on his back, and the trees on either side of it loomed over like monsters. But just as the terror gripped him, Minka's softness brushed by his cheek again. Her warmth, her endless, unconditional kindness swallowed the fear. You aren't dead, John. Painfully and slowly, he turned his head, eyes adjusted to see his protector. Beside him, with one wing still stroking his cheek, was a dark, masked owl. Hello, John, Minka said, though her beak didn't move. The words were not spoken, rather a more intimate form of communication. Thought. There was so much silent carnage around them. Ambulances and fire engines screamed. What little remained of John's car and the truck that hit it was now but steel and glass confetti that crunched under the boots of paramedics that wouldn't find him in time. But even with everything, Minka only cared for John. In this, his moment. He was her sole focus. You can ask me anything. I promise I won't lie. Or, if you like, we can not talk, and I'll just stay with you. I'm not dead, John thought, stopping himself from asking again, but a sliver of him knew what was happening. I'm dying, aren't I? Minka breathed. Yes. Why? John said. You were flung from the wreck. They won't find you in time. John felt tears mix with the blood and grease on his face. He might have hyperventilated, but the holes in his chest ruled that out. I don't want to. I'm scared. Shh. I know. But it's okay. I'm here. And I'm not going anywhere. I promise. John was thankful for that much, though he wasn't sure why. He felt safe with Minka. But these promises of hers, her kindness, what was it all for? Why are you here with me? In his fading state, John couldn't see the owl's tears. Are you like the Grim Reaper? Have you come to take me away? In his mind, her voice smiled. No. I'm here to stay with you. John wanted to shuffle closer to the bird, and seeing him struggle, Minka moved to his face, pressing her warm chest against him. The crash, John said. I saw you just before the crash. You did. Because your ending had come. So I came to be with you. John's words were quickly mumbling to nothing. But Minka, knowing what he meant to say, still answered. Yes, everyone will be okay. You haven't let anyone down. You were perfect. Weakly, John pulled a hand up to Minka's face. The tears running down it now dripped onto his palm. John could have gone in pain, cold and hot and screaming, scared and alone. He knew that. So, he barely thought one last question before he was gone. Minka pressed her face to his. Because I love you, she replied. Death is not a natural state in Australia. Figures such as the Grim Reaper or the Phantom Queen would be considered evil despite their intentions. Because here, death is not a natural state. Death comes from accidents, bodily harm, etc. Disease and murder are afflictions that come from the outside influences of the world. And as for natural death, maybe passing in your sleep or of old age, these things are not so natural. In such cases, the person has in fact been killed by an evil spirit. But take solace in this. No hell will ever await you. Death is truly the end. A chapter done, a book closed, a forever sleep. And that last shut of your eyes will never be done alone in Australia. None die alone here. Minka, the death owl, or the Minka bird, as she is sometimes called, is a spirit creature that appears as a masked owl, a foreteller of death. To see Minka is to know that your time has come. But don't be afraid. Minka isn't just a Mothman-like omen. Minka is, perhaps, the only creature of pure compassion. Minka spends her eternity ensuring that no one dies alone. And she makes sure that all who die are not afraid. She makes sure they know they are loved. And she makes sure they are at peace at the end. No matter what pain or terror you may fear with death, Minka erases it. In your last moments, all you will know is her love and her warmth. Before I head off today, I want to give an absolutely massive thank you to my beautiful, glorious patrons, Lady Nevermore, Skulk Queen, Catherine Gordon, The Curator, and Stephen Stevens.